I'm Will Ortner. This is Chargers Now, and I've got kind of a wild take that a lot of people in Vegas don't necessarily agree with, but I think real Chargers fans are going to get on board with me on this one. I don't see a trade coming with the Chargers landing Dexter Lawrence. In my personal opinion, I don't know that general manager Joe Hortiz wants to make a move here. We are going to go through in this video, one, how we got here. How did Dexter Lawrence even end up on the potential trading block? Are the Giants even interested in trading him or potentially moving on from him? And we're going to dive into everything around the Chargers and why I don't know that this trade is going to end up happening. First, we got the news earlier this week from ESPN's Adam Schefter that the Giants are very clearly at least having to listen to offers now for Dexter Lawrence because he has demanded a trade from the team. Lawrence still has 2 years left on his deal where he is scheduled to make a decent chunk of change each year. Currently scheduled to make $20 million this year. Now, I understand why Lawrence believes that he deserves to be paid more. There are people being paid more than Lawrence, and they don't do nearly as good of a job as he does. But the question is he going to end up playing for the Chargers? I think that the answer is going to end up being no, and I'll go into that in today's video. But before I do want to make sure that I ask you, do the Chargers need to trade for Dexter Lawrence? I believe that they do. Let me know if you agree with me or disagree with me down below in the comment section. If you disagree with me, make sure that you cite your sources. Make sure that you're really going to depth on why you disagree with me. I'm always in the comment section. I'm always trying to respond. So make sure that you do that now. Why will Lawrence not end up in Los Angeles? Well, it's because New York clearly wants to keep him. I think that the Giants, despite this move by Lawrence and the rest of his crew, they want to find a way to get a deal done. The Giants understand that they need a big-time edge rusher on their squad, and while Lawrence isn't necessarily that, he gets edge rusher type of numbers from the interior of the defensive line. In fact, I'd make the argument that Lawrence has been more productive against the pass than Kayvon Thibodeau has been. And he makes life easier, Lawrence that is, for Thibodeau, for Burns, for potentially Abdul Carter moving forward. John Harbaugh was asked because they did start their first day of offseason work in New York yesterday on what Harbaugh's opinions might be on Lawrence being traded. Here's what he had to say. I think the prospects are going to be high because we want Dexter here. I believe Dexter wants to be here. That's a good formula, but there's business involved. So Harbaugh's made it pretty clear that he does expect his star interior defensive lineman to stay in New York, and he's going to do everything in his power to make sure that he stays in New York. Now, while it's clear that last year was not Dexter Lawrence's best season, he's been a pretty damn good player the last 3 years previous to that. Even in a year in 24 where he only plays in 12 games, the dude is just under a sack per game. He's able to also do a decent job of knocking balls down at the line. He gets after quarterbacks. I don't think that they necessarily end up trading him in New York. In fact, I think there's a world where Harbaugh, Lawrence, and the rest of his crew sit down and they say, we're going to get a deal done. And they work together and they work hard until eventually that deal does get figured out and that deal does get made. So when I look at this Giants team, I don't think that there is a guarantee that Lawrence even gets traded, despite what he's doing. How often have we seen in the National Football League guys say, I demand to be traded. I'm going to be gone. I don't want to be here anymore. And then guess what? Where do they end up? Right back where they started because they get the contract that they wanted. Myles Garrett did it last year, and he's already starting to do it again, potentially. So in my personal opinion, I don't know that I see the Giants even moving on from him. Hit that subscribe button, though, because if a move does get made, we will be here. And we'll make sure that we have a video out for you on the channel. So make sure that you hit that sub button if you are so inclined. Next, we got to dive into the reasons why the Chargers aren't going to make these moves necessarily. The first one, we have a really cautious general manager in Los Angeles. Now, there are some guys like Howie Roseman that are not afraid to make big-time moves, and they are not afraid to move some of their pieces around the chessboard. When I look at Joe Hortiz, there's not a whole lot of big moves that are going to be made and are being made. He is a guy that likes to build his roster through depth, and there's nothing wrong with that. We've seen a lot of general managers have success that way. The person that I think of mainly who has success that way would be up in Seattle in general manager John Schneider up there. He's done a great job of moving in silence, signing lesser known free agents, and drafting good talent, making them into big players. That seems kind of what Hortiz wants to be. When I look at Hortiz, he also might look at Dalvin Tomlinson, a guy that you went and signed in free agency, and he might say, I like this guy. This is the big move that I wanted to make. Obviously, the interior of the defensive line for the Chargers is something that needs to be addressed. It's why the Chargers, at the time of this recording, when you look at some of the Vegas odds for landing Dexter Lawrence, is very highly thought of. In fact, in a couple of different spots, I've seen them as the number one team. When I look at Dalvin Tomlinson, though, he is someone that's already signed with this roster. He's a decent NFL football player. He is a football player that is going to be decent against the run. He is someone who is going to add depth to this crew. He is someone that is good. He is someone that is solid. And there's a reason why I have a monotone voice and tone when I am describing Dalvin Tomlinson, because to me, that's exactly what he is as a player. He's good. He's fine. He's someone that you go, oh, cool. He's on our team. But he's not someone that you go, let's go. He's on our team. I can't wait to see Chargers football. Because that's how you would respond with Dexter Lawrence. And I just made producer Searle pee his pants. So I hope that I didn't make you pee your pants at this point in the video. But you would get fired up. You would be excited. You would be able to feel your heart rate really start to jump. You would be jacked up if Dexter Lawrence ended up getting traded to the Chargers. I don't think, though, that is something that general manager Joe Hortiz wants to do. I think that general manager Joe Hortiz wants to move in silence. That's why he's cautious. He doesn't want to make a big move and then have it not pan out. And while we might not see Dexter Lawrence being traded to the Chargers as something that could potentially not pan out, I think that Hortiz does. Another reason why I think that this move might not end up being made is because the Chargers don't have enough draft capital right now. You're going to have to give up some big-time picks if you want to be able to go up and get Dexter Lawrence, because I do think that the Giants right now are in the middle of what we would call a rebuild. I think that they found their quarterback. They like Jackson Dart a lot. John Harbaugh doesn't end up deciding to be the coach of the New York Football Giants if they and he did not believe that Jackson Dart was going to be a franchise cornerstone. So if you're going to move on from a guy like Dexter Lawrence, you want to have a bunch of other young guys that fit into the timeline of one Jackson Dart. Well, the Chargers in this draft only have 5 picks that they're going to be able to trade away. And while it seems pretty evident that that first-round pick would have to be moved on from, I think you're also going to have to move on from another pick in this draft later on. It's going to cost a lot of picks to be able to go and get Dexter Lawrence. And I know that my original trade idea, it was essentially, hey, just a first-round pick for him. I don't necessarily believe that that is going to be the case anymore. I think that there is a world where the Chargers are going to have to give up a lot more than that. In fact, in my personal opinion, when I look at this next trade that we're going to throw up here, I think that the Chargers are going to have to give up only 2 picks, but I do think that there is a world where the Chargers are going to have to give up a first-round pick and a third-round pick, and if they really want to sweeten the deal, they might even have to throw in Quentin Johnston. Now, if the Chargers decide to end up doing this, I think that that's going to be enough to end up getting Dexter Lawrence to be a Los Angeles Charger. I would not do this trade, though, in my personal opinion. I don't think that general manager Joe Hortiz would make this trade, in his opinion, either. Because when you look at this amount of capital that you are going to have to give up here, this is a big, big haul for Dexter Lawrence. You are giving up a 22 overall pick, and you're giving up your 86 overall pick, and potentially giving up a wide receiver in Quentin Johnston that, while it hasn't necessarily worked out in Los Angeles with him, I don't know that he's necessarily someone that they are willing to move on from. And the fact that that is the type of trade that it could potentially take to get Dexter Lawrence is why I would make the argument that the price is too high. This price is completely too high for the Chargers to be willing to give up. It's too much. It's too much draft capital. It's a big time player, or a player that, even if you don't give him the 5th-year option, is someone that could potentially still stay in LA if the Chargers deem that Johnston is going to be the right fit for this team in the long run. So in my personal opinion, I don't make that trade. There is no world where I would be willing to move on from that trade. There's no world where I'd be willing to make that trade. So that's why I'm going to ask you right now. When we throw up that 1st, 3rd, and Quentin Johnston trade idea, is that a move that you are willing to make? And I'm going to ask you right now in the comment section, would you make this trade? Are you willing to part with your 1st round, your 3rd round, and Quentin Johnston to go and get Dexter Lawrence? Are you willing to move on from 3 big players, at least 1.5? I would say Quentin Johnston is close to being a big-time player, and that pick number 22 as a 1st-round pick would definitely be a big-time player. Are you willing to make that move? Because I'm not. And I also understand why General Manager Joe Hortiz would not be willing to make that move either. I don't think that a Dexter Lawrence trade is coming. And I might be out to lunch, and I might end up having to film a video later where I am eating crow. But I do not believe that Dexter Lawrence ends up getting traded to the Los Angeles Chargers. Hit that thumbs up button on today's video. I hope that you love the content that we've got going out here on the channel. It's always a lot of fun making these Chargers videos for you. And if you made it to the end of today's video and you haven't hit that subscribe button, make sure that you do so now. We're getting really darn close to 3,000 subscribers. Help us out by hitting that sub button. Thank you guys so much for viewing today's video. Make sure that you bolt up.